Hi everyone, this is Mira Raven and welcome to Manifest 5D. I'm here to bring you to your highest timeline. So today we're going to talk about shining your light and not taking other people's light, not trying to take other people's light. We're going to talk about jealousy, envy. We're going to talk about copying. Ooh, we've got a lot of subjects to get into. So one thing I've noticed a lot is I've done a lot of work on myself, and I've had my own experiences with individuals that have come into my life that seem to befriend me, unfortunately, to try to emulate me, imitate me, to essentially try to steal my light, right? Instead of shining their own. And I think that this is something that a lot of people go through, right? There are those of us who are out here who have done the work, who are trying to find ourselves, who are being our authentic selves and living our authentic, highest self. And there are those out there who have not found that path yet. And so because of that, they will lurk around and try to find a way to be like you. And so there's a lot of different things going on. So let's talk about what's going on with you, right? When you're in this situation. So for the person who is the being of light, right? Which we're all beings of light, but the person who's shining their light, right? In this case, it would be me. In my experience, it's me. I'm the person who I live authentically. I am who I am, and I'm not really trying to get people to like me or do certain things to get people's approval. I mean, obviously it's nice when I get compliments, but the person I'm usually trying to impress is myself. Like I'm trying to be better than I was last time, you know? So if you're the person who, like me, you're shining your light, you're being the best person you can be, what's happening with you is you are doing your thing. You're being authentic. You've probably taken some time to get to know yourself really well. You probably love yourself, and you take care of yourself and you want the best for yourself. And you just, you have maybe taken time to practice things like yoga or meditation or just, prayer if you're more religious, but like any kind of more reflective activity that allows you to sort of disconnect from the culture. Again, not to say that there's anything wrong with culture, but I think sometimes we have to disconnect from, I should say, cultural conditioning would be a better word. Because while culture is wonderful and it's what makes life interesting, there is a bit of conditioning that goes into culture as well. And it conditions us to think a certain way and to approach ourselves and the world around us in a certain way. So, that being said, if you are shining your light, that's probably because you have begun to self-actualize. You have begun to find your inner light, your inner peace. And unfortunately, again, like I said, people who are not on that level, they look at you and they go, what is it about her? Why is she's just so bright. She's so, whatever it is, beautiful. She's so talented, or she's so smart, or she's so this, or she's so that, right? And they start to go, how does she do that, right? And that's the thing I started to get. I'm going to talk about my own experiences a little bit more today, because it's something that I have been not only dealing with, but also something that I feel many people deal with. So hopefully through talking about my own experience, that will help. But anyway, I've had a lot of people come up to me because I have different, I am gifted and I have different gifts and different talents. I don't think I'm better than anybody else. I think that everyone has their own special gifts and talents and a capacity to do amazing things. So while I recognize my giftedness, I don't believe that other people are less gifted or less talented. It's just that I have come to terms with and do not hide or dim my light. And so people come up to me all the time and they'll be like, well, how did you get that? Well, how did you do that? How did you get there? How did you do these things? How did you do this? How did you do that? And the problem with asking those kinds of questions, is that when you're asking those questions, it's almost as if you are trying to figure out the formula to have what I have, to feel what I feel, to shine as I shine. But the reality is, you will never shine as I shine because you have your own system, which allows you to shine bright as you are supposed to shine bright. But if you are focusing on somebody else's system, somebody else's path, somebody else's, formula, that formula may not work, may not fit for your temperament or your journey or your soul and your soul's mission. It's very unique. And I had to tell somebody this recently where they kept asking me, what did you do? How did you do that? How did you get there? How did you blah, blah, blah? And it's not that I don't want to help people get to where I am, but I think that they're misguided. I think that's the problem I have with it, is that there's an element of them being misguided because, see, they're looking at me and going, well, I want to be like you. But it's like, I think the people, now we're talking about the people that want the light. Let's call them the light grabbers. I feel like I could come up with a better word, but that's okay. We're just going to use the light grabbers, the light feths. Maybe the light feths would be better. Anyway, so these light grabbers, right? They see the light. They want the light. They say, I want that. And then they want to ask you, well, how did you get it? They're trying to figure it out. Well, how did she get that light? What does she do? I got to figure it out. And that's the mind working, right? The mind is going, well, logically, there must be some kind of formula to get this light. How does she do that? But the reality is, that's not going to get you where you want to go, light grabbers. Because you don't want to be me, right? So for instance, I'm a musician. A lot of people, they see me doing certain things, playing certain instruments. So they want to play those instruments. They want to learn that. And it might be that it is part of their path to learn those instruments. It might be that. Or they just might actually just like the idea of doing it. They might say, oh, wow, you're a dancer. You're such a good dancer. That's so cool. Well, I want to be able to do that. Just because I want to be that girl who does that. And it could be, sometimes we do really want to do that and we've just, we don't believe in ourselves and that's why we don't do it. But sometimes we just are doing something because we see somebody else doing it, we think it's cool, and what we're attracted to is the light that's coming out of them because they are on their path. It's not about what they're doing. It's about the fact that they're doing the right thing for them and they are on their path, and because they're on their path and they're in alignment, their light is shining, which is what makes it so attractive. So realize that sometimes you don't have to do everything that, just because you see something that is cool, that you appreciate, you can just appreciate that person. You don't have to do what they do to be as good as them, right? You see something beautiful in somebody, you don't have to be them to be beautiful. You do not have to copy them in order to shine your light. That's not shining your light. That's dimming your light. because you're rejecting who you are and what your true path is. And so you're actually doing the opposite of shining your light when you are going after what other people are doing. Now, like I said, sometimes somebody is doing something that you've always wanted to do and you're just afraid of. And that's different. But it's up to you to discern, right? If you're the light grabber, it's up for you to discern, do you really want to do this? Is it something you really want? Now, one way to help you discern that is ask yourself, before you saw this person doing this, was this something that you were obsessed with? Was it something that you just like, oh, I really want to do this, and then you see somebody doing it? Or did you see the person doing it, and because you saw them doing it, you said, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to be that. Because sometimes when it's that, it can become almost competitive, where it's like, well, I want to feel like I'm better than that person. I want to feel like I can do what they can do. And by feeling like I can do what they can do, that makes me feel like I am good enough, right? So there's all these nuances to it. But I see a lot of people that are copying each other. And I do want to say a disclaimer just in case anyone can hear some background noise. My upstairs neighbor plays French horn, so you may hear a little bit of some sounds in the background. I'm not redoing this video because, as I've said before on other videos, I just like to keep it real and raw and unfiltered. I don't like to do things over and over and over again because I feel like I lose the momentum when I do that. So there might be a little background noise, but just know that, it's just life, right? Just regular life sounds. But anyway, I feel like it is hard sometimes to know if it's something you truly want to do or if it's just something that you just are excited about the idea of doing it. And one way to know is if you quit really soon. Like if you do it for a couple weeks and you're like, and you give up, then you really didn't want it that bad. You just like the idea of doing it. And so, copying other people is like almost like self-hate in a way. It's like you are rejecting your true nature and you're saying that this thing outside of you is better than you, right? Which is another thing that I want to discuss briefly, which is there's a lot of people out there that they will claim that certain people like myself who are, maybe talented or have a gift or whatever, and we're shining our light, that kind of thing. A lot of times I've gotten accused of thinking that I'm better than other people all the time. And I don't at all. But what I've realized from that is that a lot of times the person who is claiming that, they have put themselves lower than you and they are projecting their insecurity onto you. And so the thing that I want you to get from this talk today is that it is so important to get clear on what you want to do, what you're passionate about, what your mission is, what your purpose is, where you want to put your time and your attention. Because it is a waste of your time to obsess and stalk people on Instagram and try to see what they're doing, what everybody else is doing. Stop watching everybody else. Stop being a spectator in your life. Stop copying people. People call it inspiration, but I think that's kind of BS. I think sometimes it's a little bit BS. I think sometimes people use the word inspiration as a nice way of saying that they're literally copying other people instead of allowing their own creativity to feed them. I think to an extent, you gotta get inspiration from life, right? Like life will happen, you see certain things, and it does kind of stir you up. And I think that that's natural. But I feel like if you go out of your way to stalk people on Instagram to see what they're doing, and you go to their shows and you do all these different things to see what they're doing so that you can do the same thing, I think that's more on the side of really focusing externally instead of focusing internally and letting your North Star guide you, right? And I think it's okay to be inspired by people and see something that you like and go, I've always wondered about that and I want to explore that. I think that's fine. That's fair. But I think that there's a difference between that and like being like, oh, I want what she wants. I want what she wants. I want to be like her. I want to be just like her. I'm not good enough the way I am. I need to be like her. Do you see what hopefully this is making more sense, right? Like there's a difference between those things. So I hope that's helpful. I know today's talk, we're in the middle of a retrograde, so I'm doing my best. I feel like today's talk was like maybe a little scattered. So hopefully there was some gems, right? If you are a light person, a person of light, and you are shining your light, I want to hear about that in the comments. If you are dealing with light grabbers, I can't believe that I called it that, but I kind of like it. It's kind of funny. Light grabbers. If you've met any light grabbers in your life, then tell me about it in the comments. I'd like to know what your experience has been. But yeah, I think the biggest thing when you're dealing with people who are trying to steal your light is to remember that they can. And I've gone through this myself where I feel like such an ick feeling when I can tell that somebody is doing something because they saw me doing it. It's such a turn off for me. It makes me not want to be friends with that person. It makes me want to block them. And sometimes that's what you have to do. Like, use your intuition and discernment. But sometimes you do need to just block them or restrict them so they can't look at you, so they can't stalk you, so they can't look at everything that you're doing, especially if you notice them looking at everything you're doing and never liking it, or even they like everything that you do. But even if they like everything you do, they're still looking at everything that you're doing and they're making it look like they support you and they like you, but really what they're doing is they're trying to figure out what you're doing so that they can start doing it too. So the thing is about that is that it can be somewhat, I guess, threatening. It can feel a little weird, awkward. So if you really feel uncomfortable, you can just block them, because honestly, they don't need to, it's none of their business. They don't need to be doing that. And if they're not adding value to your life, like if they're a friend and they're a friend, but they're not actually being a friend, they're just watching what you're doing, I think there's nothing wrong with blocking them, because that way, out of sight, out of mind. If they don't see you, they can't, there can't be that energetic interaction between you and them where they're looking at you and feeding you their envy and their jealousy, right? And there's less of that because you don't even exist anymore. You've disappeared. So they have no option but to focus. They might put their focus on somebody else and start stalking somebody else, but at least it won't be you. And hopefully maybe they'll get the message. Hopefully they'll take the time to look within themselves to find the answers that they're looking for. But I think that just trying to keep, I've gone through periods of time where I've been upset with these types of people, but I've really been working on going past that and not getting upset and just sort of going, okay, this person is clearly insecure and I just wish them well. And I wish that they shine their light, that they find within themselves what is meant for them. Yeah. So, again, I hope it was helpful. I will be starting up my coaching session in January. We're getting closer and closer to the end of the year. So, I have a link to that below, www.magifest.space. If you have any questions about my coaching program, you can always reach out to me. I do have an Instagram now under the same name as this YouTube channel, Magifest 5D. So I just made my Instagram account So if you are watching me on here and you'd like to follow me on Instagram, go for it. If you want to send me a DM and have any questions about anything, I'm happy to help. I'm here to serve. So definitely hit me up. I hope you guys have a beautiful evening, day, whenever you're watching this, and I will see you next time. Peace, everyone.